My name is Ashley Allgood, and this is the data overview presentation for Brookwood High School. This presentation was for the faculty and staff of Brookwood High School. By reviewing our school's data, we are able to learn the story of our school. Demographic data shows us who our audience is. Performance data reveals our school's strengths and weaknesses. We can use this data in combination to find ways to improve student achievement. Based on our 2014-2015 school enrollment, here's the current breakdown of our student population according to ethnicity. This information is from the Georgia Report Card website. As you can see, Brookwood is 40% white, 26% African American, 17% Hispanic, and 13% Asian. When comparing this data to the past few years of demographic data, we can see an overall increase in diversity, with the greatest increase in African American students and a decrease in white students. Our school is evaluated by the state of Georgia using the College and Career Readiness Performance Index, referred to as the CCRPI. The most recently released scores rank Brookwood at a 92.8. As you can see, we received full points for the subgroup performance on EOCTs. Therefore, even though our school is becoming more diverse, we're still working hard to help all of our students achieve. You can see some of our areas of growth that we need to work on. In order to increase our CCRPIs, we still need to work with students in the meeting the exceeds level on the EOCT to improve certain areas of other standardized tests, and we'll discuss these areas as the presentation continues. While the CCRPI has only been around for a few years, we can see an overall increase in the trend. We set a goal last year to increase 2 points based on the previous year increase of 1 point. However, we exceeded our own goal. For regular high schools, Georgia ranked Brookwood 3rd in the state based on the CCRPI. So overall, it looks like we're doing really well in preparing our students for college. So let's delve into some national standardized test scores. For the SAT scores, you will notice a slight downward trend over the past few years in the SAT, which the most significant drop is on the math sections. However, you should notice that we have also had a higher number of students taking the exam. As the number of students testing increase, the average mean score slightly decreases. Therefore, we should show more support to our first-time test takers and help familiarize them with the format and the type of questions that they should be expecting. Once we break down the overall score into content area and student subgroups, we see a more detailed picture. When looking at the critical reading area, we see an overall decrease from the past few years, even though some subgroups did see an increase. We also see a slight achievement gap between Asian and white students and Hispanic and Black students. We see a similar achievement gap and gradual score decrease in the writing area and in the math content area. By looking at the score breakdown, it appears that we need to find better ways to support our Hispanic and African American students based on these achievement gaps. However, we can also see some successes. For example, the Hispanic students had a pretty significant increase from last year to this year in the math content area, which is awesome. When you review the breakdown of the total SAT scores by ethnicity group, you can see a dramatic effect of the achievement gap in each content area. While the Asian subgroup is scoring a 1700, the white subgroup is 1628, the Hispanic subgroup is 1499, and the Black subgroup is 1432. The graph shows a dramatic downward trend in the Hispanic subgroup scores, with a previous slide showing us the Hispanic subgroup is struggling mostly on reading and writing, because we did see on the previous slide that they were doing really well in math, but definitely we're having that reading and writing issue. However, when you compare Brookwood to the district, state, and national averages, we're scoring well above all of them in the content areas. In the district, Brookwood is ranked number 2 in the SAT, just right behind the Gwinnett Math and Science Magnet School, GSMST. We have some room for improvement, especially in our subgroups, by looking at the data outside but we can be proud of what we are accomplishing within our own district and state. The Brookwood SAT scores show a similar downward trend overall. In 2013 and 2014, Brookwood's composite mean score was 23.5, but in 2015 it's 22.7. While it's not a significant decrease, we notice that the decrease is in all the content areas. You can see that they're going down, especially, most notably, in math, which we'll be talking about. The subgroup breakdown of the ACT appears similar to the SAT. There's a significant achievement gap between Asian and white students when compared to Hispanic and Black students. Also, there's a dramatic decline in Hispanic scores over the past 3 years. So we really need to make sure we supply them with the appropriate support, especially if they are English language learners. Brookwood still has a higher mean score in all the content areas on the ACT when compared to the state and the district and the nation. You may also notice, as we just saw, Brookwood's overall trend. There is also a decrease in the mean score in all content areas, statewide, district-wide, and nationwide. So we're not the only ones seeing a decrease in the scores. While the SAT and ACT scores may be decreasing, Brookwood's AP scores are increasing. We are testing more students each year and seeing an increase in their scores. In 2013, 72.5 students scored a 3 or better. In 2014, it was 77.2, and in 2015, it's all the way at 78.3, with a mean score of 3.31. So clearly we're providing our students with a quality AP instruction and helping them prepare for these exams. 28% of our students scored a 4, and the same percentage scored a 3. A higher percentage of students scored a 5 than a 2. So students are really, really performing well on the AP exam. We should be really proud of it. But the mean score does differ from subgroup to subgroup. The next few slides cover subgroups of ethnicity, gender, and socioeconomic status. Each slide shows us where our achievement gaps lie, and we need to come up with some methods to address these issues. The breakdown by ethnicity shown here, it shows us that we need to continue working with our different subgroups. You'll notice that a significant decrease in score in the mean score of Mexican American or Mexican students compared to Asian students and white students, and there's also an achievement gap present in the Black students. So we really do need to be looking at our achievement gaps to figure out what kind of support we can provide these learners. When you look at the percentages of students tested, you will notice we have fewer Hispanic students taking the exam than any other. So we need to find a way to encourage our minority students to strive to take the exam and provide them support in doing so. This slide shows the ratio of male to female test takers. It's pretty close. We're doing a really good job. However, we still do have a varying mean score amongst them. Now, we have a significantly lower amount of free and reduced lunch students taking the AP exams. And you can see a vast difference between the mean scores. Of all the subgroups, I find this subgroup to be the most in need of our assistance. If we can help our socioeconomic disadvantaged students, we can also improve our overall scores and start to close some of the achievement gaps, because these free and reduced lunch students will be in each of our different groups and each of our different subgroups, so it's important that we help them to raise the overall mean score and provide them that assistance that they need. When you compare Brookwood to the state, district, and global data, it is apparent that our tradition of excellence is continuing. In the county, we rank second, right behind the magnet school, GSMST. But consider the number of students and the total number of exams when you're comparing the mean score. We have such a higher number of students taking the exams, and more total tests being taken. Our mean score is still higher than the district, state, and global mean scores, which is really impressive. We should be really proud of that 3.31. While I have highlighted many strengths, I think we should take great pride in our increasing CCRPI score, our thriving AP program, and are scoring consistently higher than the district, state, and national averages on most standardized tests. We're really doing a great job. In order to push ourselves to the next level, we need to address our struggles. As you may have noticed, we've seen a drop in math scores over the years. This drop is most obvious in the EOCTs, PSATs, specifically in 10th grade, and SAT scores. So let's dig into them and talk about each one. Here are the EOCT scores from the past few years. Notice the recent drop in the does not meet category. Now look at the exceeds category, especially on algebra EOCT. This exceeds category really affects our CCRPI. So if we want to bring up that CCRPI rating, we really need to work on helping more students move past the meets and moves into the exceeds. However, it is nice to see the steady increase in the meets categories over the past few years. The 10th grade PSAT scores also show a consistent drop in math. As you know, the 10th graders at Brookwood are required to take the PSAT, so therefore many of them are first-time test takers. So we do need to keep that into account on how to help our first-time test takers familiarize themselves with the SAT and preparatory steps to get them ready for this exam. Their struggles on math are continuing from the PSAT to the SAT. As you see, the math scores have shown little improvement and even some worsening over the past few years. An achievement gap again is present when you compare the average score of Black and Hispanic students to Asian and white students. So again, we need to figure out if it's a language barrier or not familiar with the test, or if it's a socioeconomic thing. We need to figure out what's going on to close these achievement gaps, because they're definitely affecting us on all of our standardized test scores. So what do we do with all of this information? One, we should celebrate our successes. We have set high expectations and the students are rising to meet them. We are dedicated to excellence, but we need to look through the data to find ways to help our students achieve. So let's discuss some of the following questions and see what we can do to bring about some changes. What data surprised you? What are some other opportunities for growth? The population demographics show an ever-growing diverse student body. Are our classroom practices supporting diversity? What can we do to foster more culturally diverse practices? And how can our cluster work together to close the achievement gaps? So take a moment and jot some ideas down and think about your answers, and then we're going to share them with our neighbors, and then we're going to share them to a group as large. Because if we as a group can work together to share our ideas, then we'll be more successful at implementation and intervention programs that we need to create.